Hi everyone, it's Liz here and it's Wednesday. Today I want to tell you a little story, so let me make a start. As the youngest of 4 children, I lived in a fairly rowdy household. It was pretty excitable, in fact. I had a loving, but I had a very strict dad. He was pretty scary. And I learnt very, very early on to keep very quiet and to watch and observe all the things that were going on around me, and that helped me to stay out of trouble. Years later, as a teacher, I again observed the children in my classroom struggling to learn, and that was with reading. So I applied this same strategy. I watched and I observed to figure out why they found learning difficult. You see, I loved reading and I found it really easy. I was already reading chapter books when I turned 7. I remember my very first chapter book with pride. I polished off Enid Blyton's Naughty Amelia Jane Again, all by myself. I was lying on the floor in a tiny rustic log cabin. We were on a family holiday at Cape Otway, right near the lighthouse here in Victoria. I was lying on that floor and I remember I closed that book and I was so excited. My heart leapt. I ran over to my mum. I'm like, Mum, I've done my first chapter book. And she wasn't really that impressed because my mum was a really, really good, really fast reader. And she just expected that I was going to be a good and fast reader as well. So it was no sort of fuss to her whether I'd read my first chapter book or not, but I was pretty excited. Now, let's jump back to my days as a new teacher. And I wanted to know why some of the children in my class didn't naturally pick up reading like I did. From my observations over the next few years, I began to notice that some children wriggled and fidgeted and had eyes that darted all over the place. They couldn't settle to read the words on the page. Some children couldn't even remember the words on the page, even when I had told them what those words were. And on the subsequent pages, so the next pages along, they just didn't know what the words were, even if I'd told them what they were. Some couldn't break down the words phonetically, even though we'd been teaching phonics for some time, and they couldn't even do it with help. Some could read aloud really, really well, but when you went back and actually asked them what they'd been reading, they had absolutely no idea. They were spewing out the words, but there was just no comprehension going on. Some had eyes that seemed to tire and fatigue really, really quickly. So they just would start rubbing their eyes or pulling the book away or getting fidgety or getting easily distracted. And I remember thinking to myself, I need to know more. So I started asking the children some things to try and get to the bottom of it. I started asking them, what do you see when you look at the page? I said to them, point to the text and explain to me what you are doing as you are trying to learn to read. This simple request for information from these kids changed literally everything for me. It started to give me the answers I needed. While they were looking at the book, I was looking at them and getting them to explain what they were doing as they were trying to read. I watched them like a hawk, and it just set me on this amazing path of finding solutions so I could give that specific child a way in to understanding the code of reading. It was about finding a way that suited their skill set and their learning style, because every child is different. Now, jump forward 10 years or more, and now I'm confronted with my own 3 children, all dyslexic, all struggling to learn to read. I've now just written my book, Helping Children with Dyslexia. But my kids and all of those children and families that book has helped, they need more. I'm going out speaking on this topic. I'm speaking to parents groups. I'm speaking to teacher groups. I'm speaking at conferences. And they're still saying to me, well, that's great, Liz. You know, you've really tackled what dyslexia is and how we can help our children with it. But now that we know what the issue is and we know how to address it, we need to get our children reading, and even more critically, they needed a way to teach their children to spell, because we all know spelling is the most difficult and challenging aspect of our English language. Now, I thought I'm going to try and find a way to do this, because I'm just one of those people. I'm very divergent, so I'm always thinking of new ways to do things. And doing what all the other teachers were already doing seemed like a really silly idea, because if that was working, there wouldn't be 10% or even 20% in some instances of children who were still struggling with reading in classrooms. So I didn't want to do what everyone else was already doing. Yes, I did lots of research on what everyone else was doing, but I didn't want to do the same. So I spent 3 years and I studied the English language. I wanted to make the whole letter sound symbol code, which is what phonics is, as simple and easy to grasp as possible. I had a light bulb moment the day I realised that if children could speak the English language, they were already halfway there. That was a massive key for me. You see, learning to speak is part of who we are as human beings. It's innate, it's inherent, it's something that we are born, a skill that we are already born with. Learning to read, however, is not. So I wanted to use something that was relatively easy and inbuilt, learning to speak, and I wanted to weave that into the learning to read and spell process. So I came up with 46 sounds. Some people say there's 44. Some people say there's up to 72 and 77. I say there's 46 because I've really, really simplified it. And I call this method the speech to spelling code. Now, it's proven to be very fast and effective. And thousands of children have already given this a go, and the feedback has been phenomenal. And that's not just in Australia, that's in New Zealand, in America, in Germany, in Finland, in Dubai, in the UK, in Scotland, everywhere. So it's really a universal way of doing things. Now, let's jump forward another 3 years, because what I did next is I broke down all that research that I had done, and I put every step of the process into tiny little bite-sized pieces. I recorded hundreds of videos, and I recorded them in 7 topic areas. That was phonics, words and spelling, punctuation and grammar, reading practice with real stories that had been modified to make them easy to read, and song lyrics of popular songs. Then I also incorporated empowerment in the next 2 subject areas, and I taught tips for life and inspirational interviews to really inspire children as to what would be possible for them if they had the right approach. So it is a lot of fun. So why am I telling you all this? I know that you're probably thinking, what is she talking about today? Well, this Friday is Black Friday. And yes, Black Friday is a big American sale day. And people have been saying to me, what are you going to do for Black Friday? So this is what I've come up with. I want to give everybody who hasn't yet had a go at the speech to spelling code and the 10-minute tutor the opportunity to try this program out with your child or your student for 14 days at no cost. Because what better way to know if something works or not than just to give it a go? So copy and paste this link into your browser, and I'll tell you what this link is right now. It's www.the10minutetutor.com. The word 10 is T-E-N. So the10minutetutor.com/Black Friday, all together as one go. This link is only going to be available until Friday night, which is Black Friday the 23rd, and it's going to be available until 11:59 p.m. that night. So there's 3 days, today, tomorrow and Friday, that you can jump in and join us and have an opportunity to try the 10-minute tutor and the speech to spelling code out for your child or your student and see what you think. Now, not every program suits every child. Remember that. Not every child is going to have the same things that they like to do. But this particular method has proven to be incredibly successful for majority of children. So give it a go. When you click through to the link, you'll actually see some testimonials from people who've already done that and you'll be able to hear their stories and how it's helped their children and their families. So have a bit of fun with it, and feedback. We love feedback. Let us know what you think. Put some comments below, and I will see you tomorrow on another Facebook Live, and have a super day. Bye for now.